I always knew I wasn't the favorite child, but this time they didn't even bother hiding it. My parents had a tradition. Every summer, we'd take a family vacation somewhere warm and picture-perfect, or so they claimed. But over the years, family started to mean whoever revolved around my sister, Taylor, the golden girl, the drama queen, the one whose cat had an Instagram page and a wardrobe more expensive than my college laptop. So when this year's vacation came up, a trip to a luxury resort in the mountains, I didn't even get a call. I found out about it from my cousin's Snapchat story. There was a boomerang of my sister sipping a mojito in an infinity pool. A second later, the camera panned to my parents sitting poolside, with my sister's Persian cat on a towel between them. At first, I laughed. Then I cried. Not just because I wasn't invited, but because they chose to bring her cat over me. I tried to justify it. Maybe there was a mistake. Maybe the invite got lost. Maybe they assumed I was busy. But the truth came in the form of a voice message from my mother. "Sweetheart, I hope you're not upset. It's just, Taylor really needed this trip. And we didn't want to deal with the stress of finding a sitter for Luna. Besides, the room only had 4 spots. You understand, right? 4 spots. Mom, Dad, Taylor, and Luna. I wasn't even considered more important than a cat." I sat on the floor of my studio apartment surrounded by unpaid bills and cold noodles, listening to that message on loop. I wasn't upset they took a trip. I was shattered they didn't even try to include me. I was disposable. Background noise. Less than a pet. And then something in me broke. Or maybe it clicked. Because while they were out there living like I didn't exist, I had been quietly building something they never thought I was capable of. I'd been working late nights, saving every spare dollar, freelancing like a machine. I didn't show off like Taylor. I didn't whine for attention. I just built. And 3 weeks before their trip, I booked myself a room at that exact same resort. Only I didn't book a standard suite like them. I booked the penthouse. They were so used to looking through me, they never imagined I'd be looking down at them. Literally. And as I checked in, sipping complimentary champagne, watching their poolside Instagram stories in real time, I knew something they didn't. The real surprise hadn't even started yet. I spent the first day at the resort simply watching. From my balcony high above the pool deck, I saw my parents lounging with drinks in hand, wearing their cheap Resort Squad t-shirts like they were royalty. My sister wore a matching robe, and even Luna the cat had a tiny bow tie. They looked so content, so proud of themselves. I didn't wave. I didn't walk by. I watched. They never looked up. They never thought I could be here. And that was my advantage. I had booked the penthouse using a private name, my business alias, the one they never bothered to ask about when I started my own event branding company 2 years ago. They'd laughed when I told them I was starting something of my own. Said it was cute. Said I should focus on getting a real job like Taylor's social media manager gig. I said nothing. Just worked harder. Now I was here on my own dime, in the suite they couldn't even afford, with an ocean view, private butler service, and the same full access they thought only they had. And the real revenge? It began on day 2, the resort's annual Legacy Brunch, an invite-only event hosted by the venue's top clients. Only high-tier members, influencers, and business sponsors were allowed in. My company had recently become one of those sponsors, which meant I had a seat at the head table. Imagine the look on Taylor's face when she saw me walk in, not as a guest, but as a name on the banner beside the event sponsors. She blinked twice, like I'd appeared out of thin air. My parents turned slowly, mouths half open. My dad stood halfway, like he was seeing a ghost. My mom looked down like she'd just spilled something on her lap. I didn't walk toward them. I walked past them. And I heard Taylor hiss, "What is she doing here?" Someone behind her whispered, "That's the woman who owns Brandform Studio, the new sponsor." "She owns that?" another asked, stunned. I sat down. I smiled. I lifted a mimosa in the air as the MC thanked our company for helping host the resort's prestigious gathering. I didn't need to confront them directly. They were already drowning in embarrassment. Later that night, my sister stormed into the lobby while I was checking some files on my tablet. She didn't even say hello. You're seriously here? Like, in this resort? In that dress? She scoffed. I looked her dead in the eye. You mean the dress I bought with the money I made from building what no one believed I could? She crossed her arms. You're making a scene. I leaned in closer. No, Taylor, I'm making history, and you're in the audience. She stood frozen as I walked away. No drama, no raised voices, just calm, collected power. Back in the suite, I ordered room service and toasted to the quiet revenge that needed no fireworks, just presence. Presence in a space they believed I could never enter. And while they tried to enjoy their trip, the whispers followed them. That's the daughter they left home for a cat? Isn't she the one paying for this event? They couldn't escape it. Not at breakfast, not at the spa, not even by the pool. Their vacation had turned into a constant reminder of the one person they thought didn't matter, and I hadn't even spoken a word to them yet. On the fourth morning, I got a knock at my penthouse door. It wasn't room service, it wasn't a staff member. It was my mother, alone. She stood there awkwardly in a wide-brimmed sun hat and resort slippers, clutching her sunglasses like they were a shield. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other. I didn't say a word. I didn't move aside. She finally cleared her throat and said, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside silently and let her enter. She walked in slowly, taking in the gleaming suite, the ocean view, the pristine layout, the very space she never imagined her less important daughter would occupy. Her gaze caught the gold plaque on the table bearing the name, Brand Form Studio, Executive Sponsor. Her fingers grazed it like she didn't quite believe it was real. "I didn't know you did all this," she said quietly. I stayed silent. She looked at me, her eyes a bit glassy. "We didn't mean to hurt you." That was the sentence. The classic line toxic families always rehearsed when the damage was already done. "You didn't mean to leave me out of the vacation?" I asked calmly. "Or you didn't mean to choose Taylor's cat over me?" She opened her mouth, closed it again. "I got your voicemail," I added. It wasn't about space, it was about priorities. I just wasn't one. She sighed, sat down, and shook her head like she'd just woken from a long sleep. "Your sister, she needed support. She was going through a lot." "And I wasn't?" I cut in. "You didn't even ask how I was doing. I broke down crying on my apartment floor that night. But hey, Luna needed her sea breeze." My mother flinched at that. Then, quietly, she said something that stuck with me. "We were wrong, about a lot, but mostly about you." I didn't feel triumphant hearing those words. I felt tired, because this wasn't just about the vacation. It was about years of being sidelined, forgotten, treated like the backup plan, or worse, the family ghost. She left soon after saying nothing more, no dramatic apology, no hug, just the weight of guilt following her out the door. That afternoon, I checked out. My private car pulled up just as my parents and Taylor were returning from some overpriced photo shoot excursion. They stopped dead in their tracks when they saw me, luggage in hand, being saluted by the valet and personally thanked by the hotel manager for my sponsorship. Taylor blinked at me and muttered, "Are you really leaving now?" I smiled. "I was never staying for you." I stepped into the car, lowered the tinted window, and handed the manager a small envelope. "Deliver this to room 102, I said. Inside that envelope was a voucher, not for a massage, not for a dinner, but a receipt covering the entire resort bill. Every room, every meal, every amenity, paid in full. By me. With a note that simply read, "You didn't have to invite me, I already owned the experience." As the car pulled away, I didn't feel angry. I felt light. Because the truth is, I didn't take revenge out of rage. I took control out of self-worth. I realized I didn't need their validation. I didn't need a seat at their table. Because I'd built my own. And from that day on, I stopped begging to be chosen. I started choosing myself. Let them take Luna on every vacation from now on. Let them pamper the cat, the sister, the fantasy family they curated for appearances. I'd already left their world behind. And they'll always remember the moment they looked up, just to realize I had already moved far, far ahead. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching